Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're doing something absolutely crucial. Think of it as a high-stakes pre-flight safety check for your basement. As the winter frost finally thaws out and we look forward to warmer weather, we're also staring straight down the barrel of heavy spring storms and melting snow. Your home is about to face a massive influx of water, and your main line of defense is just sitting down there in the dark, waiting. So we're going to walk through exactly how to make sure it's completely 100% ready for action.
So, let me ask you, is your system genuinely prepared? Seriously, after a long, freezing winter where it's basically done nothing, you can't just assume your sump pump is going to spring to life the second the ground gets saturated. If it's been sitting dormant for months, there's a very real, very urgent possibility that it might just falter right when the skies open up.
And this brilliantly illustrates the two completely different realities you could be facing. On one side, you have the absolute relief of a working pump, a system that quickly and quietly moves gallons of water safely away from your foundation. But on the other side, the nightmare scenario, a neglected system that fails exactly when you need it most. We're talking thousands of dollars in water damage and a massive, massive headache.
To make sure you're protected, we've got a highly structured, logical roadmap for this explainer. We'll look at the spring flood threat, safety and power checks, testing the float and switch, checking water discharge, and ensuring system reliability.
Section 1. The Spring Flood Threat.
Okay, let's dive into this. We have to understand what we're really up against here. Melting snow combining with heavy spring rains. That creates a massive volume of groundwater. To combat this relentless threat, we're going to follow an exact 4-step chronological journey to ensure total system readiness. Step 1 is a safety check, Step 2 is the activation test, Step 3 is the discharge inspection, and Step 4 covers reliability cycles.
Section 2, Safety and Power Checks.
Before we even think about touching any machinery, we have to slow down. Safety absolutely comes first. You literally never want to touch or test this equipment with wet hands, and you should never, ever do this while standing in water. We're dealing with electricity and water right next to each other. That's a highly dangerous combination if you aren't paying attention. So take a breath, dry your hands, and make sure the floor around the pit is totally safe to stand on.
All right, let's get into the foundational checks. First, I want you to actually locate the power source. Don't just glance at it from across the room. Verify that the outlet or the breaker itself is actually functioning. Next, run your eyes and safely your dry hands over the power cord. You're looking for any fraying, damage, or loose connections that might have popped up over the winter. And finally, if your specific system has a test switch, confirm that it actually operates.
Section 3. Testing float and switch.
And now that we know we're safely powered up, let's shift focus to the actual mechanics. Think of this phase as testing the trigger of your defense system. The float, or the switch, is basically the brain of the whole machine. It floats on top of the water, and as the water level in the pit rises, the float rises with it, which tells the motor to kick on. If this piece gets stuck during heavy rainfall, the brain can't tell the motor to start, and if that happens, your basement floods, even if the pump itself is perfectly fine.
So, the crucial point is, even the most powerful motor in the world is totally useless if the float gets blocked. You've got to look down into that pit and clear out any debris. Check around the outside too. Make sure a rogue cardboard box or some stored item hasn't fallen against the mechanism. And keep an eye out for sediment buildup in the pit that could trap the float. It needs to be able to move completely freely.
All right, here's the fun part, the activation test. Go grab a bucket of water or pull over a hose if you have one handy and start pouring it right into the sump pit. Watch the water rise, watch the float lift, and wait for it. You're waiting for that incredibly satisfying, smooth hum of the pump engaging. It should start up in a reasonable amount of time without sputtering, because if it doesn't activate at all, well, you know you have an issue to fix right now rather than discovering it during a midnight thunderstorm.
Section 4. Checking water discharge.
So, we heard the motor turn on, which is fantastic, but simply turning on isn't enough. That water actually has to successfully escape your house. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that these are the silent failures that leave a home completely at risk, even if the motor sounds perfectly fine. As the pump runs, you need to observe. Are the lines blocked? Is water leaking around the joints? Is the discharge weak? You also want to look out for misaligned check valves. Those are what stop the water from just flowing right back into the pit once the motor turns off.
Even after the motor shuts off, hold on, our job isn't quite done. You really need to inspect for hidden post-test leaks. Check the pit liner itself. Zero in on the lid seals and that primary discharge connection.
These are tiny, super easy to miss leaks. But over time, they cause persistent dampness and terrible musty odors in your basement.
Section 5. Ensuring system reliability.
Let's move to and see how this builds. It's time to elevate your setup from just working to truly battle-ready for severe storms. Because think about it, a massive spring storm doesn't just fill your pit once and call it a day. It fills it, the pump drains it, and then it fills right back up, over and over. So your testing shouldn't be a one-and-done deal either. Run multiple short tests to confirm the system can handle repeated, rigorous storm cycles.
Now, while you're running those multiple cycles, keep an ear out for major red flags. These are especially common in older pumps. If you hear frequent cycling where it's turning on and off constantly, you probably need to replace some worn parts. If you hear awful grinding sounds, you need to schedule a service visit. And if you have persistent alarms, it's time to call a professional. Spotting these early makes calling a pro so much more cost-effective than an emergency flood extraction at 2 in the morning.
Okay, let's wrap up these tactical checks so you feel totally empowered and ready for the worst weather. For your final storm prep, safely clean the pump intake screen of any debris. If you've got a battery backup, which is a real game changer by the way, make sure it's fully charged. And lastly, just verify that your alarm indicator is actually functioning.
I want to share a quote from our source material that really hits the nail on the head. A prompt sump pump test can provide peace of mind and reduce the chance of basement flooding. And honestly, that's the ultimate value of this whole routine. It's not just about plumbing. It's about pure peace of mind when the rain starts lashing against your windows.
So, I leave you with this provocative question. What are you waiting for? Seriously, don't wait for the weather forecast to turn grim. Take 10 minutes, go downstairs, and run through these checks today before the clouds roll in. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Stay safe, and here's to a dry, stress-free spring.